the Urantia book, Section 3, the history of Urantia, paper 105, Deity and Reality. To even high orders of universe intelligence, infinity is only partially comprehensible and the finality of reality is only relatively understandable. The human mind, as it seeks to penetrate the eternity-mystery of the origin and destiny of all that is called so-called real, may helpfully approach the problem by conceiving eternity-infinity as an almost limitless ellipse, which is produced by one absolute cause and which functions throughout this universal circle of endless diversification, ever seeking some absolute and infinite potential of destiny. When the mortal intellect attempts to grasp the concept of reality totality, such a finite mind is face to face with infinity-reality. Reality totality is infinity and therefore can never be fully comprehended by any mind that is subinfinite in concept capacity. The human mind can hardly form an adequate concept of eternity existence, and without such comprehension it is impossible to portray even our concepts of reality totality. Nevertheless, we may attempt such a presentation, although we are fully aware that our concepts must be subjected to profound distortion in the process of translation-modification to the comprehension level of mortal mind. 1. The philosophic concept of the I Am, absolute primal causation. In Infinity, the philosophers of the universe attribute to the universal Father functioning as the infinite, the eternal, and the absolute I Am. There are many elements of dangers attendant upon the presentation to the mortal intellect of this idea of an infinite I Am. Since this concept is so remote from human experiential understanding as to involve serious distortion of meanings and misconceptions of values. Nevertheless, the philosophic concept of the I Am does afford finite beings some basis for an attempted approach to the partial comprehension of absolute origins and infinite destinies. But in all our attempts to elucidate the genesis and fruition of reality, let it be made clear that this concept of the I Am is, in all personality, meanings and values, synonymous with the first person of Deity, the universal Father of all personalities. But this postulate of the I Am is not so clearly identifiable in undeified realms of universal reality. The I Am is the infinite, the I Am is also infinity. From the sequential time viewpoint, all reality has its origin in the infinite I Am, whose solitary existence in past infinite eternity must be a finite creature's premier philosophic postulate. Better said, God is a multi-leveled spirit being. Everything is a spark of God. That is how simple it is. God is the supreme, God is the ultimate, God is the absolute, God is the I Am. But God is also all the celestial helpers, ministering angels, messengers, evening stars, morning stars. God is the Melchizedek's, God is the Veronadek sons, God is the Lanaforge sons, God is the universe of universes, God is the all the mortals, and God is all the local universes. God is all the paradise creator sons. Each being is a level of God. It's sort of a doll in a doll in a doll in a doll. That is how you need to see God. It's a uncountable, multi-level, multi-layered, better said, multi-layered spiritual being. So if you speak about the Supreme Being, that is also God, because it's God the Supreme. If you speak about the Absolute, then you speak about God the Absolute. It's also God. So God is a multi-layered spiritual being. And everything that is discussed in this Urantia book is actually an outstretched arm of God himself. It's all God. No matter if it's called Paradise Creator Son Michael, no matter if it's called the Eternal Son, no matter if it's called Infinite Spirit, no matter if it's called the Ancients of Days, no matter if it's called Seraphic angels, it's all God. It's all God. The concept of the I Am connotes unqualified infinity, the undifferentiated reality of all that could ever be in all of an infinite eternity. As an existential concept, the I Am is neither deified nor undeified, neither actual nor potential, neither personal nor impersonal, neither static nor dynamic. No, exactly, God is all names and at the same time no names. God is all things and at the same time no things. God is, was, and ever will be. So we're finished with this. All right. The pre-reality, primordial eternity situation may be thought of something like this, as some infinitely distant, hypothetical past eternity moment. The I Am may be conceived as both thing and no thing, as both cause and effect, as both volition and response. At this hypothetical eternity moment, there is no differentiation throughout all infinity. Infinity is filled by the infinite. The infinite encompasses infinity. This is the hypothetical static moment of eternity. Actuals are still contained within their potentials, and potentials have not yet appeared within the infinity of the I Am. But even in this conjectured situation, we must assume the existence of the possibility of self-will. Well, God is a God of free will. So actually, from what I have read, they could state it in far more simple and simplistic sentences, just as what I said. God is a unending, multi-layered spiritual being. And each and every form that God has created is reflecting a piece of God. Ever remember that man's comprehension of the Universal Father is a personal experience. God as your spiritual Father is comprehensible to you and to all other mortals, but your experiential worshipful concept of the Universal Father must always be less than your philosophic postulate of the infinity of the first source and center, the I Am. When we speak of the Father, we mean much more of deity, which is not comprehensible to the universe creatures. No, of course not. Can we ever understand God? Can we ever comprehend God? No, we can't. Because what I say, God is an unending, multi-layered spiritual being. And God is in a certain way still expanding. When we speak of the Father, we mean God as he is understandable by his creatures, both high and low, but there is much more of deity which is not comprehensible to the universe creatures. God, your Father, and my Father is that face of the infinite which we perceive in our personalities as an actual experiential reality, but the I Am ever remains as our hypothesis of all that we feel is unknowable of the first source and center. And even that hypothesis probably falls far short of the unfathomed infinity of original reality. Of course it falls short because we never are able to understand God in the in-depth of the in-depth of the in-depth. That's not able. Because God is an ever-experiencing spiritual being. He's constantly experiencing itself through all of his creations. Even animals, nature, whatever. He is experiencing everything. Through each and everything that he has created as beings, everything that can contain a breath of life, through them he is experiencing himself. 2. The I Am as triune and as sevenfold. In considering the genesis of reality, ever bear in mind that all absolute reality is from eternity and is without beginning of existence. By absolute reality we refer to the three existential persons of deity, the Isle of Paradise, and the three absolutes. If you want to know more, please go visit the beginning audio videos of the universe of universes and the local universe. There you get everything. These seven realities are coordinately eternal, notwithstanding that we resort to time, space, language in presenting their sequential origins to human beings. Now, 1. The Universal Father. I am Father of the Eternal Son. This is the primal personality relationship of actualities. 2. The Universal Controller. I am Cause of Eternal Paradise. This is the primal impersonal relationship of actualities, the original non-spiritual association. The Universal Father is God as love. The Universal Controller is God as pattern. This relationship establishes the potential of form dash configuration dash and pattern configuration and determines the master pattern of impersonal and non-spiritual relationship dash the master pattern from which all copies are made. 3. The Universal Creator. The I Am as universal creator, one with the eternal Son. This union of the Father and the Son in the presence of paradise initiates the creative cycle, which is consummated in the appearance of conjoined personality and the eternal universe. From the finite mortal's viewpoint, reality has its true beginnings with the eternity appearance of the Havona creation. This creative act of deity is by and through the God of action, which is the infinite spirit, who is in essence the unity of the Father-Son manifested on and to all levels of the actual. Therefore is divine creativity unfailingly characterized by unity, and this unity is the outward reflection of the absolute oneness of the duality of the Father, Son, and of the Trinity of the Father-Son-Spirit. Then we have number 4, the infinite upholder. The I am self-associative. This is the primordial association of the statics and potentials of reality. In this relationship, all qualifieds and unqualifieds are compensated. This phase of the I am is best understood as the universal absolute dash the unifier of the deity and the unqualified absolutes. 5. The infinite potential, I am self-qualified. This is the infinity benchmark bearing eternal witness to the volitional self-limitation of the I am, by virtue of which there was achieved threefold self-expression, or better said self-expression and self-revelation. This phase of the I am is usually understood as the deity absolute. 6. The infinite capacity, I am static-reactive. This is the endless matrix, the possibility for all future cosmic expansion. This phase of the I am is perhaps best conceived as the supergravity presence of the unqualified absolute. And then number 7, the universal one of infinity. I am as I am. This is the stasis or self-relationship of infinity, the eternal fact of infinity-reality, and the universal truth of reality-infinity. Insofar as this relationship is discernible as personality, it is revealed to the universes in the Divine Father of all personality even of absolute personality. Insofar as this relationship is impersonally expressible, it is contacted by the universe as the absolute coherence of pure energy and of pure spirit in the presence of the universal Father. Insofar as this relationship is conceivable as an absolute, it is revealed in the primacy of the first source and center. In him we all live and move and have our being. From the creatures of space to the citizens of paradise, and this is just as true of the master universe as of the infinitesimal ultimatum, just as true of what is to be as of that which is and which has been. Then point 3, the 7 absolutes of infinity, the 7 prime relationships within the I am eternalizes as the 7 absolutes of infinity, but though we may portray reality origins and infinity differentiation by a sequential narrative, in fact all 7 absolutes are unqualifiedly and coordinately eternal. It may be necessary for mortal minds to conceive to their beginnings, but always should this conception be overshadowed by the realization that the 7 absolutes had no beginning. They are eternal and as such have always been. The seven absolutes are the premise of reality, because the seven absolutes are actually seven different sides of God himself. So that is why they don't have a beginning. So the seven absolutes are the premise of reality. They have been described in these papers as follows. 1. The first source and center, first person of deity and primal non-deity pattern, comma, God, comma, the universal father, comma, creator, comma, controller, comma, an upholder, universal love, eternal spirit, infinite energy, potential of all potentials, and source of all actuals, stability of all statics, and dynamism of all change, source of pattern, and father of persons. Collectively, all seven absolutes equivalent to infinity, but the universal father himself actually is infinite. Yeah. So actually what is being said here about the seven absolutes is nothing more, simply said in simple layman terms, the seven different aspects, sides, parts, you can say, of God himself. In seven different stages, you can also say it as such. Then we have 2, the second source and center, which is God the eternal Son. That is, so the first source and center is God the Father, the second source and center is the eternal Son, and the third source and center is the infinite Spirit, also known as the conjoint actor. So the second source and center, second person of the deity, the eternal and original Son, the absolute personality, realities of the I am, and the basis for the realization -- revelation of I am personality. So the second source and center is representing the personality of the primordial cause, known as the I am. No personality can hope to attain the universal Father except through his eternal Son. Neither can personality attain to spirit levels of existence apart from the action and aid of this absolute pattern. For all personalities in the second source and center, spirit is unqualified while personality is absolute. And then 3, the paradise source and center, second non-deity pattern, the eternal isle of paradise, the basis for the realization -- revelation of I am force, which is the God of action, and the foundation for the establishment of gravity control throughout the universes regarding all actualized, non-spiritual, impersonal, and non-volitional reality. Paradise is the absolute of patterns, and it is from the third source and center that the divine minister is coming from. The divine minister comes from the infinite spirit, and the divine minister is also known as the universe mother spirit, or if we speak in local universe terms, local universe mother spirit. Just as spirit energy is related to the universal Father through the absolute personality of the Mother - Son, so is all cosmic energy grasped in the gravity control of the first source and center through the absolute pattern of the paradise isle. Paradise is not in space. Space exists relative to paradise, and the chronicity of motion is determined through paradise relationship. The eternal isle is absolutely at rest All other organized and organizing energy is in eternal motion. In all space, only the presence of the unqualified absolute is quiescent, and the unqualified is coordinate with paradise. Paradise exists at the focus of space. The unqualified pervades it, and all relative existence has its being within this domain. And how many are we? Then number 4, the third source and center. Oh, the number 3 was the paradise source and center. So the third source and center, that is the infinite spirit. That is the God in action. So the second source and center is God, the personality. This person of deity, the conjoined actor, infinite integrator of paradise, cosmic energies. And so I'm sorry that I think it's quite weird that they state the third source and center on place 4 instead of place 3, which is unhandy done. The conjoined actor, the infinite integrator of paradise, cosmic energies with the spirit energies of the eternal Son, perfect coordinator of the motives of will and the mechanics of force. Unifier of all actual and actualizing reality through the ministrations of his manifold children, the infinite spirit reveals the mercy of the eternal Son. It is the infinite spirit, its ministry is the mercy ministry, while at the same time functioning as the infinite manipulator, forever weaving the pattern of paradise into the energies of space. This self-same conjoined actor / infinite spirit, this God of action, is the perfect expression of the limitless plans and purposes of the Father-Son, while functioning himself as the source of mind and the bestower of intellect upon the creatures of a far-flung cosmos. 5. The deity absolute, this is the causational potentiality, potentially personal possibilities of universal reality, the totality of all deity potential. The deity absolute is the purposive qualifier of the unqualified, absolute and non-deity realities. The deity absolute is the qualifier of the absolute and the absolutizer of the qualified the destiny inceptor. More about this in paper 117. That is, I think, all about, well, actually paper 115, 116, 117 and 118. All these papers are going all in far more in depth into this. Then we have number 6, the unqualified absolute, static, reactive and abeyant. The unrevealed cosmic infinity of the I Am, totality of non-deified reality and finality of all non-personal potential, space limits, the function of the unqualified, but the presence of the unqualified is without limit, infinite. There is a concept periphery to the master universe, but the presence of the unqualified is limitless. Even eternity cannot exhaust the boundless quiescence of this non-deity absolute. And then point 7, and how many do we have? The universal absolute, the unifier of the deified and the undeified, correlator of the absolute and the relative, the universal absolute being static, potential and associative, compensates the tension between the ever-existent and the uncompleted. The seven absolutes of infinity constitute the beginnings of reality as mortal minds would regard it, if they understand all what is being said. The first source and center would appear to be antecedent to all absolutes, but such a postulate, however helpful, is invalidated by the eternity coexistence of the Son, the Spirit, the three absolutes, and the Paradise Isle. It is a truth that the absolutes are manifestations of the I am first source and center. Yes, of course it is. It is a fact that these absolutes never had a beginning, but are coordinate eternals with the first source and center. Yes, because they are all still God, the spirit being. So of course they have no ending nor beginning, because they are all a layer of God himself. The relationships of absolutes in eternity cannot always be presented without involving paradoxes, in the language of time and in the concept patterns of space. But regardless of any confusion concerning the origin of the seven absolutes of infinity, it is both fact and truth that all reality is predicated upon their eternity, existence and infinity relationships. Okay, point 4. Unity, duality and triunity. The universe philosophers postulate the eternity existence of the I Am as the primal source of all reality, and concomitant therewith they postulate the self-segmentation of the I Am into the primary self relationships the seven phases of infinity. And simultaneous with this assumption is the third postulate the eternity appearance of the seven absolutes of infinity, and the eternalization of the duality association of the seven phases of the I Am and these seven absolutes. The self-revelation of the I Am thus proceeds from static self through self-segmentation and self-relationship to absolute relationships, relationships with self-derived absolutes. Duality becomes thus existent in the eternal association of the seven absolutes of infinity with the sevenfold infinity of the self-segmented phases of the self-revealing I Am. These dual relationships eternalizing to the universes as the seven absolutes eternalize the basic foundations for all universe reality. So better said, all those who think in non-dualism, they didn't got it at all. Because non-dualism is, I think, something that is not even a form of God. I don't know, but we will see when the universes are becoming light and life, and what then happens. If then duality stops existing and we all come in non-duality, I don't know, but for now there's nothing about non-duality. In a whole Urantia book there's nothing to find about non-duality. So I think duality is just a part of time and space, and as long as we are still in time and space we deal with duality. These dual relationships eternalizing to the universes as the seven absolutes eternalize the basic foundations for all universe realities. It has been some time stated that unity begets duality, that duality begets triunity, and that triunity is the eternal ancestor of all things. There are indeed three great classes of primordial relationships, and they are unity relationships, duality relationships, and trinity relationships. And the last are, these are the functional associations of the seven absolutes of infinity. And duality relationships are those existent between the I am as sevenfold and the seven absolutes of infinity. And the first unity relationship exists within the I am as the unity thereof is conceived as a threefold and then as a sevenfold self-differentiation. Triunity relationships arise upon duality foundations because of the inevitability of absolute interassociation. Such triunity associations eternalize the potential of all reality. They encompass both deified and undeified reality. The I am is unqualified infinity as unity, all at the same time. The dualities eternalize reality foundations. The triunities eventuate the realization of infinity as universal function. The I am is unqualified infinity as unity. The dualities eternalize the reality foundations. The triunities eventuate the realization of infinity as universal function. Pre-existentials become existential in the seven absolutes, and existentials become functional in the triunities. The basic associations absolute seven absolute well, so pre-existentials become existential in the seven absolutes, and existentials become functional in the triunities, the basic association of absolutes. I have two kitties and they are in their beginning stage of puberty, so that's why I have some distortions here. And concomitant with the eternalization of the triunities, the universe stage is set, the potentials are existent, and the actuals are present, and the fullness of eternity witnesses the diversification of cosmic energy, the outspreading of paradise spirit, and the endowment of a mind, together with the bestowal of personality, by virtue of which all of these deity and paradise derivatives are unified. In experience on the creature level and by other techniques on the super creature level. 5. Promulgation of finite reality. Just as the original diversification of the I am must be attributed to inherent and self-contaminated volition, so must the promulgation of finite reality be ascribed to the volitional acts of paradise deity and to the repercussional adjustments of the functional triunities. Prior to the deitization of the finite, it would appear that all reality diversification took place on absolute levels. But the volitional act promulgating finite reality connotes a qualification of absoluteness and implies the appearance of relativities. While we present this narrative as a sequence and portray the historic appearance of the finite as a direct derivative of the absolute, it should be borne in mind that transcendentals both preceded and succeeded all that is finite. Transcendental ultimates are in relation to the finite both causal and consummational. All right. Finite possibilities is inherent in the infinite, but the transmutation of possibility to the probability and inevitability must be attributed to the self-existent free will of the first source and center, activating all triunity associations. Only the infinity of the Father's will could ever have so qualified the absolute level of existence as to eventuate an ultimate or to create a finite. With the appearance of the relative and qualified reality, there comes into being a new cycle of reality. Dash the growth cycle, dash a majestic downsweep from the heights of infinity to the domain of the finite, forever swinging inward to paradise and deity. Always seeking those high destinies commensurate with an infinity source. These inconceivable transactions mark the beginning of universe history, mark the coming into existence of time itself. To a creature, the beginning of the finite is the genesis of reality as viewed by creature mind. There is no actuality conceivable prior to the finite. This is newly appearing finite reality exists in two original phases. One, primary maximums, and two, secondary maximums. And the secondary contains the supremely perfected reality, the super-universe type of creature and creation. And the first is the supremely perfect reality, the Havona type of universe and creature, which means Havona is outside time and space. Havona is actually what you could say a type of world where there is not really duality because there is no time and space or no time. Havona is a very relaxed world. Nothing dramatic happens there. It's not like here, where they have to deal with all sorts of evilness, antagonisms and whatsoever. No, Havona is the fourth stage of paradise. Havona is the world where you come eventually to train and to get used to a paradisiacal world. And the paradise is a world where nothing is being registered. It is only, the things are only registered because we are in time and space. Havona is also a type of space, but a different type of space that is not influenced by time. And so the central universe is also not influenced by time. So that is why from the Havona levels to central universe, there is no records. There are no records. Because as soon as you jump from Uversa to one of the billion worlds of Havona, you go out of time. Until that moment, you are still participating in time. These then are the two original manifestations, the constitutively perfect and the evolutionally perfected. The two are coordinate in eternity relationships, but within the limits of time. They are seemingly different. A time factor means growth to that which grows. Secondary finites grow, hence those that are growing must appear as incomplete in time. But these differences, which are so important this side of paradise, are non-existent. In eternity, so that is in Havona, there is hardly growing, and if you are still in the universe of time and space, you are growing, and eventually if you go jump from Uversa into one of the billion worlds of Havona, then you start to discover that you only experience, but you're not really growing. But these differences, which are so important this side of paradise, are non-existent in eternity. We speak of the perfect and the perfected as primary and secondary maximums, but there is still another type, trinitizing, and other relationships between the primaries and the secondaries result in the appearance of tertiary maximums. Things meanings and values that are neither perfect nor perfected, yet are coordinate with both ancestral factors. And then we go to 6. Repercussions of finite reality. The entire promulgation of finite existence represents a transference from potentials to actuals within the absolute associations of functional infinity. Functional infinity of the many repercussions to creative actualization of the finite. There may be cited 1, the deity response, which is the appearance of the 3 levels of experiential supremacy, which is the actuality of personal-spirit supremacy in Havona, the potential for personal-power supremacy in the grand universe to be, and the capacity for some unknown function of experiential mind acting on some level of supremacy in the future master universe. And then 2, the universe response involved an action of the architectural plans for the super universe space level, and this evolution is still progressing throughout the physical organization of the 7 super universes. And then number 3 is the creature repercussion to finite reality promulgation resulted in the appearance of perfected beings on the order of the eternal inhabitants of Havona. and of perfected evolutionary ascenders from the 7 super universes, but to attain perfection as an evolutionary time-creative experience implies something other than perfection as a point of departure. Thus arises imperfection in the evolutionary creations, and this is the origin of potential evil, misadaptation, disharmony, and conflict. All of these things are inherent in evolutionary growth, from physical universes to personal creatures. And then for the divinity response, this is to the imperfection inherent in the time lag of evolution is disclosed in the compensating presence of God, the sevenfold, by whose activities that which is perfecting is integrated with both the perfect and the perfected. This time lag is inseparable from evolution, which is creativity in time. Because of it, as well as for other reasons, the almighty power of the Supreme is also God, is predicated on the divinity successes of God the sevenfold. This time lag makes possible creature participation in divine creation by permitting creature personalities to become partners with deity, so become partners with God himself in the attainment of maximum development. Even the material mind of the mortal creature thus becomes partner with the divine adjuster and thus partner with God in the dualization of the immortal soul. God the sevenfold also provides techniques of compensation for the experiential limitations of inherent perfection, as well as God the sevenfold also provides techniques of compensation for the experiential limitations of inherent perfection, as well as compensating the pre-ascension limitations of imperfection. And then the last point of this paper is point 7, evaluation of transcendentals. So the transcendentals are subinfinite and subabsolute, but superfinite and supercreatural. Transcendentals eventuate as an integrating level correlating the supervalues of absolutes with the maximum values of finites. From the creature standpoint, that which is transcendental would appear to have eventuated as a consequence of the finite from the eternity viewpoint, in anticipation of the finite, and there are those who have considered it as a between quotation marks pre-echo of the finite. That which is transcendental is not necessarily non-developmental, but it is super evolutional in the finite sense. Neither is it non-experiential, but it is super experience, as such is meaningful to creatures. Perhaps the best illustration of such a so-called paradox is the central universe of perfection. It is hardly absolute, dash only the paradise isle is truly absolute in the, between quotation marks, materialized sense. Okay, as the supreme is associated with finites, so the ultimate is identified with transcendentals. But though we thus compare supreme and ultimate, they differ by something more than degree. The difference is also a matter of quality. The ultimate is something more than a super supreme projected on the transcendental level. The ultimate is all of that but more. The ultimate is an eventuation of new deity realities, the qualification of new phases of the therefore unqualified. Among those realities which are associated with the transcendental level are the following: 1. Deity presence of the ultimate. 2. The concept of the master universe. The architects of the master universe, that was number 3. Number 4, the 2 orders of paradise force organizers. 5, certain modifications in space potency. And 6, values of spirit. 7, certain meanings of mind. And 8, absonite qualities and realities. Omnipotence, number 9 is that, omniscience and omnipresence. And number 10, space. The universe in which we now live may be thought of as existing on finite, transcendental and absolute levels. This is the cosmic stage on which is enacted the endless drama of personality, performance and energy metamorphosis. And all of this manifold realities are unified absolutely by the several triunities, functionally by the architects of the master universe, and relatively by the 7 master spirits, the sub-supreme coordinators of the divinity of God, the sevenfold, and so of the divinity of God himself. God, the sevenfold, represents the personality and divinity revelation of the Universal Father to creatures of both maximum and sub-maximum status. But there are other sevenfold relationships of the first source and center which do not pertain to the manifestation of the divine spiritual ministry of the God who is spirit. In the eternity of the past, the forces of the absolutes, the spirits of the deities, and the personalities of the gods steered in response to the primordial self-will of self-existent self-will. In this universe age, we are all witnessing the stupendous repercussions of the far-flung cosmic panorama of the sub-absolute manifestations of the limitless potentials of all these realities. And it is altogether possible that the continued diversification of the original reality of the first source and center may proceed onward and outward throughout age upon age upon age upon age, on and on, into the faraway and inconceivable stretches of absolute infinity. And with this said, I have come to the end of reading paper 105. All the information is all the information in this paper is presented to us by a Melchizedek of Nebadon. Thank you very much, Melchizedek of Nebadon, for presenting us this information. And I highly recommend you to buy the Urantia book yourself and start reading it with your own eyes. And also go to a study group. That is very handy to do. You can find these through urantiafoundation.org. Just type in the search box, study group, and then you will find them. Okay, I thank you so much for listening to this audio video. My excuse for the many interruptions and so on. I have 2 kitties, and they are growing into their maturity state, so that is why I have sometimes such a loud background noise and so on. All right, I wish you all a beautiful, joyful, and a loving day, and God bless you, and that all the things that you do will be in alignment with the will of the one true living God himself. God bless you.